Good, beautiful morning. Welcome to Friday's edition of Short Touch for the Soul. It's Friday, February the 25th, 2022. And today we're going to be discussing Ascending Now with Master Kuthumi. It's a very fascinating time we live in as human beings. I had the privilege and pleasure of awakening to an article that I saw today, which was very revealing for me, that there's a study that was recently done out of the University of Ottawa over the last 100 years, a correlation of behaviors between the sun and humanity, how the sun and human behavior, planets, how it's affected. And they've now stated that very precisely and specifically there are exact effects that are correlated to the way the sun is what they're saying. But they're missing something here. They have not looked at the other side of the equation, that humans, that we collectively as a species actually influence and affect the sun's behavior as well. It goes two ways. It does not go one way. That our behavior affects the planets, the stars, the suns as much as our energy and behaviors and thoughts and emotions affect them. We are interdependent organisms, whether it's a planet or your body. We are interdependent mechanisms. And when I saw that article, I was just like, finally, there now is scientific validation for what they've been telling me now for well over 2 years, this understanding that the collective consciousness of humanity interacts with the sun and the earth and the other planets, that we have a relationship with each other. And that's very fascinating. That's where I wanted to start today. And again, I've got Master Kuthumi with me, and Ascending Now is the conception he wants to communicate to us. But before we get into that, I'm just so excited about this news, because when science, three-dimensional science, validates something that we've been saying for a few years now, when science now is validating, it's very exciting that humans finally get that information percolated down, so they go, okay, there's definitely a relationship between what happens between the sun and humans, and the earth and humans, and the planets and stars and humans. And it goes both ways. It is not a one-way street. Please understand that what happens with human collective unconsciousness affects how the sun responds, and vice versa. So please keep that in mind as we go through this ascension movement globally. And it is not, militaries are fighting each other, and you got this these emergencies around the world. We have to understand that we are affecting, generating, causing events in time space. We are sending signals out with our fear. We send signals out with our love. You do this all the time, whether you know it or not. Conventional psychology in their study of body language clearly shows that you send signals to people and they respond to you, and vice versa. People get into certain body postures or facial expressions. They're signals. Well, the same thing happens true on an emotional level. Even if you can hide your emotions off your face, you're still feeling it inside. And that feeling you feel inside is a transmission of energy. And the environment responds. Humans collectively have that relationship with the sun. And so we have watched historically, and you've heard us say this many times, that there have been, at least in the last 72,000 years, 6 significant planetary resets, where the actual physical Earth goes through a massive change. What has not been realized and utilized as valuable information is the realization that human collective consciousness plays a role in how that's going to unfold. Yes, we play a role in manifesting the new Earth, whatever that new Earth is going to be. The resets that they have discovered scientifically, they've got names for it, like the Lachance event and other events that have happened where the planet's global rotational and magnetic axes do a flip. And in that flip, there's literally massive floods and catastrophes that happen planet-wide, and there's a reset. That reset has always been based on the violence and aggressions that humans hold in their hearts towards themselves and others. That type of a reset is based on that, because there have been places in your history that you are unfamiliar with, that your science does not have the capability to go back far enough to identify and recognize that there were times where the resets were very wondrous and magnificent events, where the driving force behind the reset was love and curiosity and playfulness on a collective level of your species. And that playfulness, that excitement, was able to loan itself to a transformation that was wondrous and magnificent. There was a time of 2 suns on your planet, where the entire planet was in such wonder, where the need to hunt or kill was not as you understand it today to survive. There was a whole planet of vitality, of food in great abundance for everyone, everywhere. And you have tried unsuccessfully in the last 72,000 years to return to that. But hear these words very carefully. You have the opportunity to return even now. But this requires an effort of all humans, not just one country or one individual, but all humans to come together in a conception of love, which is a very precise vibration for ascension, just as the vibrations of fear are a movement into descension. In other words, the more negative side of the transformational shift you see on the planet, whereas the vibration of collective love affords itself to a very different expression of what you would experience in your condition of time, space, and matter, well, in this physical dimension. Not that that matters so much to your soul, as your soul does function independently. It does function independently of the body. What happens to the body does not diminish the nature of your consciousness. But many of you aren't even aware that you are independent in terms of consciousness from the body, so many of you simply believe you are asleep, or you might say the term dead, and know it not. Quite simply, you are unconscious to the reality of who and what you truly are, and that you merely use a method of physical structure as a means of expressing your consciousness into this fabric of time and space. This process of ascending now can only be done through a deliberate and conscious intention to align yourself to very specific frequencies of consciousness in the form of love. Now, you hear this word love cast about in this world quite carelessly, but if you understood the nature and frequency of this vibration of love, the thoughts that you would think and the actions you would perform would be very different than what you're currently familiar with. Love does not do much more other than to give of itself, knowing that it is in great abundant supply of all that it could ever need. This process of ascending now requires that you be willing to shift your consciousness and be a demonstration for those who need to see that, to truly be an articulate expression of love as a vibrational consciousness will afford you the wonder of witnessing great change around you and within you, around you and within you. As you come to an understanding, this relationship that you have with all other things in your world is based on the vibrational state of being that you are in, which is influenced and affected by the nature and the quality of your attachments to what you believe or do not believe. If you believe that you are suffering, if you believe that your life cannot change, you create a particular vibration that you get to experience. And while the negative expression of consciousness will not affect your soul in any significant degree, it will certainly affect your experience of existing in time and space in that fashion, as equally as the vibration of love will affect your expression and experience of time and space very differently. This process of ascending now is an interdependent expression that occurs between yourself and all others. And when I say all others, I mean literally all other physical entities, including what you call the earth and the moon and the sun and the planets and the stars and the galaxies, which are physical organisms. They're living, sentient expressions of consciousness at different degrees and intensities of size, shape, matter. But each one is, in and of itself, a collective consciousness. What you see as a galaxy spinning in space is a collective consciousness of many trillions upon trillions of organisms, much the same way that your body is a collection of trillions and trillions of organisms that you can orchestrate, that you as awareness can orchestrate the trillions of organisms that make up this physical body in which you find yourself. And so planets and galaxies and universes are all organisms that have a soul, that are made up of other organisms that have a soul, that are made up of other organisms that have a soul. As you come to an understanding of what I'm saying, then the awareness that you have, that you can orchestrate a harmony, a vibrational constitution for that group of organisms that you call your body. And in turn, you may organize other humans, which make up a collective of consciousness that is of a greater body. And you may coordinate or organize other humans into these vibrations of love and begin to assume a level of awareness and control over the existence of this process that you call the ascension, which is simply the intentional gathering of individuals in a collective vibrational frequency that you would call love. To be intentional and clear about that. Right now, most of your humanity is bound up in a collection of what you would call fear, a collective agreement of fear. But there's also a collective agreement of love, albeit much smaller in scope and range on the planet today, but it is quite existent. It is alive. It is real, as is your fear real. Each will have its effect on your conditions of time, space, and matter. And I simply offer you the opportunity to have a choice. You always do. But many of you are unaware of this. Many of you believe that your suffering is what you are. And you find yourself lost in your suffering as a result. Suffering is not who you are. Your awareness of it would allow you to make that simple distinction that you are aware you are suffering, but your awareness is not suffering. You're simply aware of suffering. As equally as you can be aware of this vibration of love. You are not the vibration of love, but you are able to generate that vibration. Come to the understanding individually and collectively that there is a deliberate choosing in ascension now. And that may be perpetuated in a negative by fear or a positive in the expressions of love. I encourage you to consider the expressions of love, as the expressions of fear are far more difficult to differentiate yourself from. It's easier, even from a biological perspective, that when your body feels good, it feels good, and it's easier to be in that vibration of goodness than it is to be in the vibration of suffering, as many of you already know and experience. And so we look at your humanity right now at a position where you have the choice to align yourself to a very specific frequency. And ascension right now, this process of ascending your consciousness, must be done consciously. It will not happen automatically. Although you may have others that you can be surrounded with, that you can offer your light to, and they may receive that light and be uplifted by it. And by that default, you can align others to the frequency of love as well, which is why all of the processes and teachings of what you call the ascended beings, the divine beings, the beings of light and love, they understand that having a process of teaching, a process of sharing wisdom and knowledge of a frequency that engages others into that frequency can bring the collective up. But we're looking on your planet right now, and we're quite certain that you have an opportunity that will close fairly soon if you're unable to make this deliberate choice, not simply as individuals, but as a collective. With the manifestation of free will, with the manifestation of free will. Each of you can function independent of each other and interdependent with each other. Positively or negatively, this is what you can do. And what will you choose? You have many world leaders today that are struggling with this, that they believe that this physical material world is the exclusivity of their existence. And they make their decisions based on the perception of the senses alone. In that one thing feels good and one thing feels bad, and they make a decision that if something out there is a threat to them, they must destroy it. That is simply not going to take you up in consciousness to a higher plane of existence if you limit yourself to believing that the only place of causality is in your experience of matter. That is ridiculous. To believe that you can rise above the conditions of matter through matter itself is not going to work. You are awareness, aware of matter, aware of thought. But there are so many of you that are so engrossed in the necessity of the senses being the locus of where you will identify your sense of well-being from, that you find yourself having to fight for what you want to feel good physically. You take from others without consideration or respect because you want yourself to feel better, not recognizing that you will not gain the enlightenment nor the freedom you seek through the acquisition of material things of this world. If anything, that will simply slow down and delay your ascension. But there are many of you that will make this ascension even now, independent of others. It is possible to do this, to make this ascension now, independent of others, to be in alignment with the nature of what you are, to understand, begin to grasp and comprehend the vibrational frequency of love, the vibrational frequency of love as a sensational awareness, not so much of a sensation of the body, although the body will indeed be affected by this vibration of love. The body is affected by every emotional vibration that you put through it or that is received by it. And you may rise yourself to that place of autonomy where this world will no longer have sway over what vibration you will be in, where what is said or done by others around you does not lower your vibration down. It does not bring you into anger. It does not bring you into fear. It does not bring you into uncertainty. You begin to assert absolute authority over your mind and body. You begin to rise above subjectivity to them, recognizing that your ascension is infinitely more important than seeking to be right, quite simply, which is what many of you aspire to do, to try and be right as opposed to be what you are. Yes. Excuse me for a moment. There we go. Wow. So I woke up with that document, and thank you, Kuthumi. I really appreciate this. That process of awakening is a distinction between fear and love, like really making a distinction between fear and love, and then choosing love over fear. There are certain thoughts that are a vibration of love. There are certain thoughts that are a vibration of fear. Yeah, I know. There are certain behaviors that are vibrations of love and certain behaviors that are vibrations of fear. There are certain perceptions you can align to that are perceptions of love, and there are perceptions of fear. And then there is you, the perceiver of all of these things. What are you? What are you? And in the essence of what you are, we would define that as love. And that the only place there seems to be confusion is when you come into this physical form and you begin to think that your conditions of being are existent upon the conditions of the physical form itself. And this is not true. Conditions of human civilization are dependent upon the conditions of the quality of the consciousness of the human civilization. The quality of the consciousness, the vibrational frequency. All the cities that you have created in this world are projections of the qualities of consciousness that you collectively and individually indulge and engage in quite regularly. Cities that are arisen and beautiful and wondrous works of creation can be felt and experienced as love. And in all of your cities, there are places you can go to and be in awe and wonder at, and you say, this is beautiful, because you recognize that love is the genesis of that creation. And you can go to places in your cities and find places where it is not so beautiful and there's much suffering, and you say, this is the process of the genesis of fear. And you can see very clearly how your consciousness, the vibration that you allow yourself to attune to creates conditions. And you may offer those vibrations. You may offer a vibration of love to others. And you may offer a vibration of fear to others. You may do this and thereby afford them the chance to be in love or to be in fear. You do this with your children, and these infants, these young souls that come into your experience. Do you give them love or do you give them fear? For what you shall give them is what you should give to humanity as well. Whatever you have been offering, you've been offering not just for your own sake, but for the sake of all others as well. So we encourage you to consider what we have said today. That ascending now requires, and it is happening, that you become conscious of the ability to choose between frequencies of love or fear, physically, mentally, emotionally. The nature of your spiritual consciousness is that it is love and can direct and alter and change thought and matter intentionally and consciously. Wow. Thank you, thank you. So this is where we are today as a species, where we find ourselves. Well, now that science, and it's funny, I think 6 months ago, I can't remember, I think it was Master Jesus said, all these things will be revealed to you. All these truths that they've been saying all along will be revealed to us, and they are. Look at this now. Now science is saying, holy crap, the sun is affecting us, but it's two ways. They've only got it one way. We affect both, and you've heard it said on this channel many, many times, that the collective consciousness of humanity is affecting what's happening between the earth and us and the sun and the other planets. The planets are the siblings of Earth, which brings me here. I'm just going to pick something up here. Excuse me for a moment. Let me get this. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay. So that brings us to our meditation tomorrow. And I don't know who's going to be doing the meditation tomorrow, but it's going to be called Frequency Elevation. So tomorrow's meditation will be on frequency elevation. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, by the way, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, share this information widely. If you want to support the channel, you can use the super chats, or you can go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/William Michael Forbes. All the links are in the description box below any of my videos. You can also make a donation directly to PayPal if you want to support this channel as well. I want to mention, through all of our donations through YouTube and Patreon, we give a percentage of that to a group called ourrescue.org. There's the link for that. This is a group that helps rescue children from the sex slave trade. We support that organization. Also, bear in mind that Google takes 30% of everything that we make, and then we give another percentage of that to these other organizations. So tomorrow, the meditation will be on frequency elevation. Please join us for that. And again, I'll tell you what's coming up next week in a few minutes. Let's take a few questions and see what wonderful things. I will, when I finish this video today, place a link to the scientific documentation out of the University of Ottawa. This is a 100-year study. They correlated changes in human behavior, and the violent and aggressive wars that we've had over the last 100 and some odd years. They've now shown a correlation between the sun and human behavior. But what most people don't understand is it goes both ways. Human behavior also affects the sun, right? Just the same way as when you think and feel a certain way, your body's affected. When you think, your whole body is affected. If you get excited, your whole body's affected. If you're depressed, your whole body's affected. Well, the same relationship you have with your body exists between humanity and the earth and the sun and the planets. Very exciting stuff. I'll put a link to that in this video when we're done today. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Jana, Khan. Hi, Betsy. Hello, Heather. Hello. Yes, indeed, it is. A question from Sunny. Would love some guidance on how I'm feeling today. It's been hard to keep my vibe up. Thank you. Well, I think, Sonny, if you've been listening to what he said, I encourage you to come and join the meditation tomorrow. Literally, how to take your frequency up. It's so important that we all learn how to do this. the simple physiological act, it's one of the simple things that they gave me to do many months ago. The simple act of sitting up straight, pulling your shoulders back and smiling will cause an immediate change in your vibration. Because in order for you to pull your shoulders up and put a smile on your face and tilt your head up a bit, that's you, the soul, directing the body. Once you start to become aware that you direct the body, and that in directing the body in very certain ways, you change its energy, you change the energy that's going through it. So when you pull your shoulders back and put a smile on your face, you're literally using your soul to alter your physiological energy. Literally. The energy of a smile releases a chemistry in the brain. Just the act of smiling changes the brain's chemistry. So remember that. Very exciting. Very simple too. Question from Daniel. Hello, Daniel. What is it like in the state of being an ascended master? What exactly is unconditional love, and what is the ultimate state of being? Well, that is 3 questions, all of which have a very similar answer. In order for you to understand this state, it is important to achieve it. It is like you telling us what it is like to jump out of an airplane when we have not jumped out of an airplane, and you describe it to us and it sounds wonderful, but we do not know. And I would say simply to you, this state of divine consciousness is one that you are capable of experiencing. Are you willing to come to school and learn how to do this? For it is something you need to learn as you learn to walk, or you learn to talk, or you learn anything new. We have been very blessed to be able to work through this one and others in instructing others in the process of your illumination, where you become cognizant of your experientiation of what this state of divinity is. For you all possess it within you. It is all within you. The process of realization, of actualization of it, requires very simple mechanisms of practice to get your awareness to that place where you attune your mind and body to that state of divinity that you are so excited about. But each of you have the seed of that within you, and you may nurture and water that seed. Yes, I will. If you're really interested in Daniel, you can go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com, click on the courses section, and check out our upcoming Mediumship Program, which begins March the 5th, our Mediumship 101 program, which is literally a program in altering and changing yourself, getting in connection with your guides, your angels, ascended masters, other multidimensional beings. There's an actual process for shifting your consciousness from just hearing with ears and seeing with eyes to being able to open your inner eye and your inner ear, your inner knowing up, which will allow you to begin to experience a different perception and state of being than the one you're familiar with through your body. So go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com, register for our Mediumship 101 program. Starts Saturday, March the 5th. So hopefully we'll see you there, Daniel. Question from Daniela. My friend Sheridan misses her mom a lot and is asking for advice or a message from her. I don't know why there's this laughter and joy coming through. There's nothing that is missed. Again, so many of you are so ingrained in your familiarity with the body. So many of you are so in believing that your physical world is the only one of existence that you tend to miss that those dear loved ones are right beside you, extending you their love that you cannot see or hear because you believe that you must have something you hear with your ears or see with your physical eyes for it to be real. Close your eyes, dear one. Close your eyes and feel this beautiful soul near you. Feel her with you right now. You must let go of this need to be attached to this physical world so diligently. Let it go. Feel her presence with you. The joy of your recognition of her will be very obvious. Yes. And it is true, isn't it? Yes. Yes, it is. Thank you. A question from Jana. I am attracted to vibration of love and peace more and more. Have I dissolved the old vibration of sadness? Thank you. You must understand that there is an ongoing process of your evolution spiritually in consciousness, that the perception of these lower vibrational states that you speak of are not meant to torment or cause you to suffer, but to give you the opportunity to rise up, to recognize your capacity to transform and transcend conditions of energy, whether it be emotional, physical, or spiritual. These emotions of sadness that you have struggled with for much of your life, again, are not something to be a burden to you, but are in fact that which gives you the opportunity for you to liberate yourself. You might think of your emotions as the weights that you use in your human form to develop your spiritual muscles of consciousness. And know this, that if you turn the light of your love to even your sadness, if you turn the light of your love even to your sadness, you will evolve your consciousness. You will transcend further. So when you experience these lower vibrational emotions, it is not to bring you down, it is to lift you up. That you can use these vibrational energies to facilitate the cultivation of these higher spiritual energies of love. The deliberate act of loving that which suffers heals the suffering. The deliberate act of loving that which suffers transforms that which suffers. The act of love, the intention of love. So when you find yourself in depression or anger or sadness, and if you pause for about a moment and say, wait, I'm going to extend the vibration of love to this that I do not like, you will understand what I'm saying. You'll understand because it will change. And the simple act of applying what is said is far more beneficial than having it being said to you. The simple act of deliberately applying what is said to yourself is far more beneficial than hearing what is said to you. Wow, thank you for that, Danielle. Great question. Question from Vio. My aunt and I had a special connection. She would call me even when I haven't told her what I'm going through. Any message from her? Yes. Pay heed to what has already been said to you. Pay heed to what has already been said to you. And you will know that the closing of your eyes will open another eye, will open another ear. The closing of your eyes, the closing of your ears will open another eye and another ear. Do not lay in the hands of others that which you yourself can do, but learn to do from others that which you cannot. For she is with you always. And each of you hear these words, but to understand the truth of it from your own experience is the goal of all that we do, to simply instruct you on that which you are already capable of doing, to show you the way of how to operate the vehicle, which we have learned quite efficiently, how to operate the vehicle. Much the same way as you learn to drive a car, or you learn to operate the vehicle of your mind and the vehicle of your body, the vehicle of thought, the vehicle of emotion. They are vehicles that you use, different parts of one and the same thing that can be utilized so that you can take that vehicle and go on a wonderful journey through this world you call life. Please understand the primary message that we wish to communicate today is very simple, that you understand that ascension is happening right now. You are ascending now, whether you are conscious of it or not. And some of you are not ascending, or at least not aware that you are. But it is only through awareness that you can know this is true. To learn the vibrational frequency of love, to learn how to love that within yourself which has seemed unlovable, will give you great strength and fortitude in climbing further in consciousness up this ladder of being. Instead of being subjective to your suffering, you can use your suffering as a very instrument for your healing. Did you know that? That you can use the instrument of your suffering as a mechanism for your own healing. Very exciting. We teach that through this one and many others. Question from Vertical. When there were those wondrous resets, was there more or less population globally, and was it in the culmination of collective lessons? These of these things we can speak to you, but we will speak very carefully, for in the transitional movements of love, the expressions of matter change significantly. Very few of you today have any real consciousness or understanding or even conscious awareness of what was before, although all of you possess the memory of all of these things within you. Many of you have been through these things. You keep coming back to learn it, right? But to answer your question simply, population was not determined so much from the vibrational state of love as it is more so determined by the vibrational state of fear. The more loving a society tends to become, the less need for population. When love is driving a society, there's no need for a lot of bodies, for love conducts itself socially and spiritually in very different ways than does fear. On the planet today, you have not even got as many people as were once before on a planet of love. This planet has had many more beings on it, many more than you can imagine or see with your eyes here. There have been times where the vibrational frequency love was so strong that your population was double or even triple in various instances on this planet. Love does not restrict itself in its expression, for it knows how to manage itself in all ways. Love, as the dominant expression, knows how to conduct itself in all ways to sustain life and to sustain it more abundantly, whereas fear does not know this. The vibration of fear does not know this. And so you have a population on this planet which is very fearful right now. And you can see quite well the illustrations of fear in your social and economic manifestations, which are manifestations of either fear or love. So there are situations where the vibration of love required more and situations where the vibration of love required less. Each civilization comes to an understanding of their vibrational consciousness in their own way. And there have been many civilizations that have not come to that understanding whatsoever, have simply risen and collapsed under the weight of their own fear, never to remember that they were even here. But then they return unconsciously again to seek and do this again. We see this happening now over the last 72,000 years. There have been at least 6 significant civilizations that have risen and fallen, globally civilizations that have risen and fallen under the weight of their own fear. We see you doing it now. So you still have time, but very little of it, to make this shift in your global vibrational consciousness. And you cannot force this into another. You cannot create electronic devices in order to stimulate a vibration of love and hope that you can do it that way. That will not work. It must be consciously, deliberately, and collectively chosen. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vertical. Appreciate that. Got time for 2 more questions. Question from Nancy. I feel down this winter. I feel strong energy in my body. Is this to comfort me during this time? As we were saying earlier, please understand that these lower vibrational energies that you perceive, the moment you perceive them, you are perceiving them from a different consciousness. The very nature of your ability to perceive something means that you are in a different frequency in order to perceive it. So when you perceive the vibration of sadness, or you perceive the vibration of anger, or you perceive the vibration of fear, the moment you are in that place of perception, that is the place where you have the opportunity to begin to raise your vibrational frequency. And many of you will find yourself wishing to get rid of or attack or become unconscious to these emotions because they're uncomfortable, because you have no instruction on how to deal with them. You've never been taught that the vibrations of anger, if you extend love to it in yourself, it changes. You've never been taught that when you feel great sadness inside, that if you extend your love to it, it will change it. You've not been taught this. We offer that to you now, quite simply. When you feel that sadness, be willing to give it your grace and your love, and it will change. And you will feel yourself rise up, and you go, my goodness, that changed. I changed it. And now you begin to become aware of that which you are as soul, as awareness. Oh, thank you. Time for one more question. Question from Rudy. May I get some guidelines regarding my work, being able to make a living in love? Please understand, you don't make a living in love. Love is what you use to make a living. If the vibrational state of love that you exist in is what guides your thoughts and your actions, it will make a very different living for you. But if you are seeking to acquire something to make you feel love in order to make a living, you have it backwards. You came here to manifest your capabilities as a deliberate creating intelligence, to recognize your authority over time, space, and matter, to recognize and understand your authority over time, space, and matter. And you cannot do that from fear, but you can do that from love. But you must become that which you are seeking. You wish, as many of you do, you wish to be feeling love. You wish this world to give you love, but you are love by nature. The nature of what you are is love. To reawaken that vibration of love in your mind and in your body is really what you're asking to understand. How do I reawaken love in my thoughts? How do I reawaken love as an expression of my body? And there are simple methods you can apply to learn these things. We encourage you to do so. Wow. Okay, let's get into next week. I'm excited about next week. It's because a very strange week coming up. Next week, a wondrous and strange week coming up next week. So next week on Monday, February the 28th, it's called Father, Son, Mother Earth, Sibling Planets. And I've got Nostradamus, Copernicus, and Leonardo da Vinci that want to discuss this concept of Father, Son, Mother Earth, and sibling planets. So I hope you'll join me there on next Monday. And on Wednesday, March the 2nd, Divine Independence with Kuan Yin. And I'm really excited that she's offered to come forward with me because she's only done so on 2 occasions. And I'm really hoping that's going to be really fun. Divine Independence with Kuan Yin. And that'll be next Wednesday. Also, next Friday, March the 4th, we're going to all March 4th, right? A New Earth Dawns. And again, I don't know who's going to be coming in, but it's called A New Earth Dawns. And that will be next Friday. I, again, encourage you to come and join us for the meditation tomorrow, which is going to be on frequency, elevation, and that will be a surprise guest for us as well. I want to encourage you, there is a methodology, a process that you can go from the world of suffering and fear and guilt and shame to a state of being what you are, love. Our mediumship program offers you the simple steps and programs, the way to get to that process, to actually go through being in suffering to being deliberately and consciously in a state of love. I encourage you to go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com, sign up for our Mediumship 101 program, which begins Saturday, March the 5th. You have to have a method, a process. There has to be a way. Like you learn to drive a car, you learn certain things to drive a car, you learn certain things to become a doctor or a lawyer or a priest or a minister or a crane operator. Whatever you are doing, you had to learn to do it. Learning to awaken your soul, there's a process, there's a skill, a set of things that you can learn to do, to get connected to other dimensional beings, to get inspiration and guidance. There's a process, a mechanism, methods for learning to do this. And we have been blessed to have this provided to us in the courses and classes we offer. So please consider doing that. Join us for our mediumship program, which starts a week from tomorrow. So next Saturday, March the 5th, I hope we will see you in our Mediumship 101 program. I want to wish you all much love. I want to say thank you, everybody that's come out today. Yes, absolutely, Rudy. Rudy's asking, is it possible to know my spirit guide name? Yes, you can learn all that. In our courses and classes, you'll find out who they are because they're with you right now, whether you know it or not. They're your guides, the angels, the ones that you on a spiritual level resonate with are with you right now. It's just that your mind and your body have been conditioned to only see this physical world. In our mediumship program, you actually learn to shift your perception from the external world to a whole other world of consciousness within you. As Master Jesus always says, the kingdom of God is within you. It is here. It is now. And when you can learn to be in that here and now, wow, yes, you can know a lot more than this world can ever give you. And I want to wish you all much love. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. And I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Supernatural Saturday for the meditation, frequency elevation. Much love, everybody. Have yourself a wonderful Friday.